Hi everyone and welcome to today's video. Today I'm reviewing a pen from Leonardo Officina Italiana. It is the Momento Zero and I have it in the green marble finish with the silver trim, the chrome trim. It's in this box. So I don't want to waste any time, let's just delve right in and let's have a look at this really interesting new pen. Okay, let's look at this pen. I really like this packaging, nice sort of sturdy cardboard outer sleeve, and then a really nice cardboard internal box with the logo sort of nicely embossed, I suppose. I don't know what the exact term is, on the top of that. You lift the lid and you receive a nice information book with pictures of the line and all of that sort of stuff, a little bit of information, and then some information about your nib and the pen in particular, and the fact that I got this from Pen Venture so it's really very nice little book. Some information again about bits and pieces, and then you get the pen sitting in a little pen bed here and in a plastic sleeve. Now obviously I've had this pen out for a few weeks, I've been using it. I think it is a really very nice pen. So let's look at it in some detail. Okay, so one little thing about Leonardo Officina Italiana is that they are an Italian brand, and they are sort of like one of the phoenixes to rise from the ashes of Delta. One of the makers of Delta decided to launch this brand with their son, and the pens sort of have come out of that and a sort of design, I suppose, in a sort of a relatively vintage sort of way. This pen, I think, came out in 2018, so it's really, sort of quite a recent addition. So as you can see, I got the green marble finish here, and it's quite nice. It's got some nice sort of chatoyance and all of that to it. Where the acrylic picks up the light, it's quite beautiful. And the silver trim, I think, on this looks really great. So let's run from the top of the pen down. So the top of the pen here has this sort of conical dome, if you will, and then the cap swells out ever so slightly to these bands, and then the barrel sort of tapers away to another conical end. As I said, all the trim is chrome here, and the two bands there on the cap, and then the other band here is at the base of the threads. The branding on the pen is here, there we go. Leonardo Officina Italiana, and this is number 058. So they're not limited editions, but they are numbered, which is actually really nice. The clip on this pen is really functional. It's quite springy, but it's got this nice little ball which allows for easy sort of, easily being put into pockets and things like that. One thing I really like about the basic sort of design of this pen is that sort of vintage classic look. It's not a flashy pen, but it is a very nice pen, and it's quite beautiful. Okay, so now let's look under the hood, if you will. So it screws the cap in just over one turn. The threads there are very smooth and you really don't feel them, and it's got this nice sort of tapered section here, which has been referred to by one person as a beer bottle shaped section, which I actually quite like that description because it's perfectly suits that. The pen does fit very nicely in the hand with that grip, and it's not a small pen either. It's a sort of quite a decent size. It comes with a number 6 nib, which I think is made by Bock, but it is branded there with Leonardo Officina Italiana, the little logo of the wings, and then M for medium, which is a medium. The feed there is the sort of a standard sort of plastic feed, but it keeps up very well and does a very nice job. So what I like about the feeling of this pen in the hand is the balance of the pen. It's not a heavy pen, but there's a nice sort of weight to it in the fingers, sort of in the grip section is sort of where a lot of that weight sort of tends to lead, and that's quite a nice feature. It's not a huge pen, so it doesn't feel massive in the hand, but because there's a nice sort of bit of width to the section up around the top here, you do feel like you're holding something quite substantial. The pen is a cartridge converter pen, and it comes with a branded converter, and not your sort of standard Schmidt sort of one. It's got some nice fancy sort of elements to it, and it is a screw-in converter threaded there. which for extra stability and security. Now, the feature about this pen, I always fill these pens like this. You remove the barrel, you dip it, you turn it, you fill it. What this pen also has is a blind cap feature where you can unscrew the end of the pen here at that point, and you have access there to the end of the converter. So because it's threaded, it's got nice stability for this. You can fill it using just that if you so desire. Personally, I fill from dipping, from removing the barrel and dipping it from there. The pen posts quite securely, it's sort of got a nice, it's got a nice line to the pen when it's capped. The cap sits on the webbing of your hand, and it's not a sharp step down off the cap there, so it's quite comfortable. Also, the step down here on the barrel is really minimal, so you're not going to get into too much trouble there either. Capped, it's 142 millimeters. Uncapped, it's 130 millimeters. Posted, it's 170. So yes, it is quite long, but the balance is still very good because the cap is relatively light in comparison to the pen. The section ranges from 12 to 10 millimeters, so even at its narrowest, it's still a decent sort of width. There is no flare really on the end of the end of the section there to stop your fingers running down, but this material, this nice sort of acrylic resin, is not slippery at all. I've never found this, even when after long writing sessions and things like that. So the pen weighs 25 grams, 17 in the body and 8 in the cap, so the balance is quite good. Now let's have a look at it in comparison to a couple of other pens. Let's start with the stock standard here. We have the Lamy Safari. So it's a good length in comparison to the Safari. It's just ever so slightly longer, but not noticeably longer. Nice pen, nice size pen. And actually, if we look at the two sections of these pens, you'll notice that at the narrowest, they're not sort of far off, but the Leonardo there is just sort of, it sort of has a nice sort of bit of width, extra sort of around that sort of section, which gives it a nice feeling in the hand. A couple of other pens that we can compare it to. I wanted to compare it to a couple of Italian pens, and a pen that a lot of people would be quite familiar with. Well, some people would be familiar with, or be familiar with it on Instagram and places like that, is the Visconti Homo Sapiens Bronze Age. So it's a bigger pen, it's a girthier pen, but just to put it into context, the Leonardo is not a small pen by any stretch. A recent pen I wanted to compare it to is the Penida. This is the Avatar Ultra Resin, which is a little bit longer, but these are pens that are both relatively new on the market, and brands that are sort of relatively new and come out of, well, Penida's not a new brand, but its recent focus on pens is relatively new. So just an interesting little size comparison there if you are interested. All right, the next thing to do is a writing sample, and then after that I will give a few sort of little pros and cons. Let's start with this writing. So here we have the Leonardo Officina Italiana. This is the Momento Zero model. Zero. And I said this is in the green marble with a medium nib. The ink here is Diamine Sherwood Green. A suggestion from a follower on Instagram, and I thought it was a great suggestion with this pen. Perfect. So I've been writing with this pen for a few weeks now, and I find it to be a very, very comfortable pen in the hand. There's a slight amount of feedback on the nib. It's smooth, but you can hear that feedback, so you know you're writing on the page, and even on this sort of coated Rhodia paper, it's not too bad. But if we do the quick, etc., etc. Smooth, consistent. Now let's do some fast. Yeah, no worries at all with this pen keeping up. It is a joy to write with this pen. Reverse writing. It's a little more feedbacky, but it is possible for a few words. It would, I have a feeling it would dry up quite quickly. What else is there? Oh, flex. I'm not going to push this. You could get a little bit more ink down, but once again, like a lot of these pens, it's not a flex nib, so the tines aren't opening up. It's just letting more ink down, which gives the impression of a wider line as opposed to actually putting down, a nice sort of wide line. Right-handed, just for the sake of the exercise here, what do we have here? We have the Leonardo, and beautifully smooth. Still sort of feedback, but quite smooth. One thing I like about this pen, and I like my pens to be relatively wet. This isn't a super wet pen, but it does lay down a very nice, consistent line. And the medium is, I would say, on the finer side of medium in comparison to a lot of other European medium nibs. But it puts down a decent amount of ink. You're not going to be concerned about how this pen writes at all. Lovely pen to write with. Feels really nice in the hand, and so that balance is really quite nice. Now, let's talk pros and cons of this pen. In terms of the cons, I really don't have any. My only thing, two little things, is firstly, distribution of this pen is limited at the moment, but I think that's going to get better. These pens are going to really take off. I really don't think we're going to have a problem finding places to buy this pen in 6 to 12 months' time. I think they're going to be, this brand particularly, I think it's going to be very well sort of supported. The other thing, it's not an issue so much, but the blind cap, I think, I'm not a big fan of them. I know what they're trying to get at, but they're just not a feature that I enjoy in pens. If you prefer them, let me know and tell me why, because I'm really keen to see why they are a feature and why people do love them. So let's talk about the pros then. Firstly, this material, it's beautiful. It is just absolutely beautiful. I can't complain about the material. I think it is absolutely gorgeous. It's nice and rich and dark, and it's got a really lovely sort of depth to it. I like the vintage style of the pen. The shape, the clip, it works for me. The grip section was a surprise. That grip, that sort of shape, it's not sort of your normal sort of grip section that you would see sort of on most pens. So but it feels nice in their hand. It was a surprise. The other thing I love about this pen is the nib. I like the simplicity of the design of the nib, but also how it writes. Not super wet. It's smooth, got a little bit of feedback, which I quite like. But also there's a good range of nibs available. You can get extra fine, medium, broad, and I think a 1.5. So, if depending on what you're after, you could easily sort of find something that suits you. So, yeah, really nice pen. The Leonardo Officina Italiana Momento Zero, here in the green with chrome, medium nib. Very, very nice pen. And if you're not familiar with the brand, check them out. There's a few retailers around, but as I said, I got this from Pen Venture. So, yeah, have a look at them. So that was the Leonardo Officina Italiana Momento Zero with the green marble finish. Great pen. As you can see, I really like this pen. I enjoy writing with it, and I find it to be a really nice addition in the recent market, and perfectly suits sort of my taste for pens. Hope you found this video interesting and useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notifications button if you want to stay up to date with the videos that I produce. Please feel free to get in touch using any of the platforms listed below. You can find me on Instagram or Twitter at @the_offstage_me. And you can comment on any of my videos here or drop me an email. If there are products you think I should be looking at, particularly products from your country, let me know. And if there's a way you'd like to support this channel, get in touch and let's see what we can do. In the meantime, enjoy your pens, enjoy writing, and I'll talk to you later.